From Byzantium to modern era. Painting in Ionian Islands, a justifiable hybrid. Selected artifacts. Limestone slab with St. John the Baptist. Number 1469. Date: early 17th century. The slab comes from the monastery of St. John the Baptist in the Castro of Zakynthos. The saint, depicted full-length between two low rocks, is frontal and winged, and blesses with his right hand while holding a scroll in his left. The scroll is inscribed, "Repent, for the kingdom of heaven is at hand." The three escutcheons in the lower part of the slab, which have not preserved their distinctive features, would have borne the patron's coats of arms. The iconographic type of the winged Baptist, a creation of the Paleologian period, has been associated with the saint in his capacity as equal of the angels and pioneer of monasticism. The style and technique of the relief reflects a classicizing tendency and shows familiarity with Italian, post-Renaissance artistic movements. The work belongs to the Venetian period on Zakynthos, where St. John the Baptist was proclaimed patron saint in 1608. It can be attributed to a Cretan or Ionian workshop familiar with Western European models. From Byzantium to modern era. Painting in Ionian Islands, a justifiable hybrid. Selected artifacts. Icon with Saint Alepios. Number 1565. Date: 1661. Crater: Emmanuel Saints. Atop a column and behind the low, marble parapet, the stylite Saint Alepios is depicted in bust form. He is wearing a red monastic habit and holds his hands up in front of his chest, with the palms facing out, in a prayer gesture. To the left, a cross has been fixed to the parapet, which he set up himself, having first destroyed the idolatrous statue of a lion attacking a bull which had formerly stood on top of the column. To right and left of him, standing on clouds, two full-length angels are approaching with wings outspread, holding scrolls with passages from the Liturgy of Saints, while at the foot of the column stands his mother. She holds a string of prayer beads, indicating that she has entered the monastic life. In the background, in a landscape with uneven ground and hills beyond, are depicted the two monasteries which the saint founded near his column. At the foot of the column is inscribed the date 1661 and the artist's signature, by the hand of the priest Emmanuel Saints. From Byzantium to modern era. Painting in Ionian Islands, a justifiable hybrid. Selected artifacts. Icon with the ascension of the prophet Elijah and scenes from his life. Number 1576. Date: second half of 17th century. Provenance: Autocorrigana, Corfu. Creator: Theodore Poulakis. The icon is divided into three unequal bands. In the central, larger one is depicted the ascension of the prophet Elijah to heaven. The prophet, in an animated stance, is seated in a flaming, golden chariot which is emerging from clouds and being pulled by four galloping horses. Lower down, his disciple Elisha is depicted with his back turned to the viewer, seizing Elijah's mantle. On the left, on a smaller scale, is the secondary episode according to which Elisha crossed the Jordan in a miraculous manner without getting wet. In the background to the main composition, a town identified as Jerusalem can be seen. On the right-hand side, the patron, according to an inscription, the Cretan priest monk Sophronios Phascamelosis, is depicted kneeling with his arms crossed in an attitude of supplication. In the other two bands, 6 scenes from the life of the prophet are depicted. In the first space at the upper left, the prophet is depicted twice, once conversing with a widow who is offering him water and bread, and then, in another scene alongside the first, receiving food from a raven. After that comes the raising of the widow's dead son, and then at the bottom left the prophet is killing the priests of Baal, having first managed to light a fire on an altar when God responded to his prayer, while next to that flames are coming down from heaven which envelop the captain of 50 and his men. In the lower left is inscribed the signature of the Cretan artist Theodore Poulakis. The main scene copies an engraving by the Flemish printmaker Jan Wierix. The intense palette, with pink, a luminous red and gold as the main colors, the Baroque and Renaissance elements in the depiction of buildings and the costly textiles, the lively gestures and attitudes of the figures are all characteristic of the art of Poulakis in general, though it is worth noting here that the use of Flemish prints to provide iconographic subjects is particularly widespread in the Ionian Islands from the second half of the 17th century on. The icon comes from the Church of St. Elijah in Ano Carigiano on Corfu. The serious damage which has been caused to the paint surface is the result of the panel being cut into 9 pieces after it was stolen from the aforementioned church. From Byzantium to modern era. Painting in Ionian Islands, a justifiable hybrid. Selected artifacts. Icon of St. George. Number 1585. Date, 1746. Creator, Nicolaes Cantunis. The saint is depicted on horseback, at the moment when he pierces the dragon with his spear. On the right in the background a tower rises up, while on the left are some suggestions of landscape. The chief virtues of the works are the careful balance in the composition and the unity of color, based on the almost exclusive use of many different tones of brown. The panel has been painted in oils. It expresses the naturalistic style which predominated in Western Europe from the Renaissance onwards. The almost romantic atmosphere is striking, suggested by the almost calm attitude of the saint who is killing the monster, and the human gaze which the horse is directing towards the lightest part of the sky, the point from which the light which floods the composition flows. This gaze hints at the presence of God, who thus becomes more natural, without undermining the work's claims to realism. The panel is signed, by the hand of Nicolaes Cantunis priest. The Zacinthian artist Nicolaes Cantunis, around 1768 to 1834, came from a wealthy and cultivated family and worked on zacynthus. He painted in the Western style, which in effect had been brought to the Ionian Islands a century earlier by the painter Panagiotis Doxaras, 1662 to 1729. The works of the Ionian painters, Panagiotis and Nicolaes Doxaras, Yanaki Kare, Nicolaes Courtoises, Nicolaes Cantunis, were produced in a cultural climate which was not only beyond the bounds of Byzantine artistic tradition but consciously rejected it, considering it clumsy and irritating. Nevertheless, this tendency in Ionian painting developed in an orthodox environment. Cantunis himself, who was one of its principal exponents, was an Orthodox priest.